Writing is one of those art forms where the more you do it, the better you get naturally. That saying, practice makes perfect, not entirely true for writing. I don't think it's possible to be perfect at it, but I think the end game for every writer, author, whoever, is to craft their perfect story and make their story as perfect as it can possibly be. That being said, throughout my personal writing journey, I found a couple sort of tips or things to keep in mind that have helped me become better once I became aware of, what I was doing and, what the ultimate goal is. So here's a couple of the insights that I've come to figure out. The first tip I have, besides just plain writing more in general, is to get comfortable with editing. I know it seems like writing and editing are two different hats, and they really are, but they both go hand in hand when creating a book. Now, I'm not suggesting doing the two together at the same time while you're going along, because that would just drive you crazy. But thinking of editing as a tool rather than a burden will help you find your voice, and subconsciously will tuck away sort of tidbits of information that you'll find emerge as you write. A great book I would start with helping your editing or getting comfortable with editing yourself is Self-Editing for Fiction Writers by Rennie Brown and Dave King. This is a great tool I found super helpful, especially when I just started getting into really editing and digging into my manuscript. As you can see, I marked it up. Has a lot of great information in here. These guys talk about showing versus telling, point of view, dialogue, interior monologue, beats. Once is usually enough. One of my favorites is, let me find it. They say that one of their clients sort of came up with this little formula that I really like. It's 1 + 1 = 1/2. They say here, quote, "When you try to accomplish the same effect twice, the weaker attempt is likely to undermine the power of the stronger one." For example, they take an excerpt out of a manuscript that they're working on, and basically the writer is talking about this girl named Rita, talking about how she hits bars, and just like describing her in great detail of how gaudy and drunk she is, just basically dressing up the same sort of concept in different sentences. And they say, the writer conveys Rita's habit of gaudy dress 3 times, and although each instance reads delightfully, the cumulative effect is still to weaken the whole. And there's just tons of little great tidbits of information that while you're writing, you don't really think about, because when you're writing, but when you're editing, you're editing. My second piece of advice is to read, and I mean read different things. Yeah, it's really great and helpful to read within your genre, but that's only one piece of the pie, bro. Not every book is cut and dry one specific genre, and not every author sticks to one type of theme throughout his or her career. Why? Because it's boring and leaves no room to grow. It's great to find a niche, a genre you're good at, comfortable with, and you execute well, but that shouldn't be your highest point. That shouldn't be what you're striving for. So I recommend classics, okay, because they're called that for a reason. Writing styles might be out of date, and I know it could be hard to relate to a character like Hester, but they're timeless regardless. Classic authors unlock something within their pages that people, even today, still gobble up. A few classics that I think everyone should read include Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, The Diary of Anne Frank, A Clockwork Orange, only if you're impartial to a main character that is actually insane, and of course my favorite book of all time, The Secret Garden, because it's my favorite book of all time. And that was a pretty diverse group, okay? As far as classics go, you also should not limit yourself to one genre, because there is tons beyond the whole classics sort of theme. My third tip. Write like no one is going to read your work, because odds are they're probably not, and also because writing is hard enough without the little voice in the back of your head going, "Oh God, what if Grandma sees this? My main character is a twat. What if people think I'm a twat because I created him? This minor character with 4 lines is a sociopath. Will people think I'm a sociopath? Are they right? Sex." Okay, you can honestly not think like that. And even if people do judge you based on who your characters are or what they do, then they probably shouldn't be reading your book and don't understand the concept of a story, of fiction. Or nonfiction, whichever you prefer. I don't know. So there's this wonderful concept in one of my favorite sort of fantasy world-building books, Wonder Book by Jeff Vandermeer. So on page 18, if you want to follow along, He says, if you reward your information by writing down your ideas and exploring them, even the slightest little fragment, I keep thinking like it says information. It's imagination. Your imagination will reward you with a more or less continuous stream of ideas. If you turn off or blunt the enthusiasm of your subconscious for engaging in creative play, the stream can dry up. He's basically saying you have to let your filter go. If you're blocking your mind to crazy subconscious ideas before you even get a chance to explore them, you're not writing for you anymore. You'll be writing for people who probably won't even be reading your work and who will judge you by your fictional made-up characters. Or your non-fiction ones, like I said, whatever. My fourth piece of advice for you today is to find your confidence. There is only one way to go when you're a writer, and that's up. Get excited for your story, for your characters, for that fictional setting that people won't believe came out of your own mind. Because if you don't believe in you, then no one will. And that's all I got for you today. So don't forget to check out my blog for pretty pictures, writing tips, and updates on my novel, Thick as Blood. And good luck, man, because you're gonna need it.